What's up, AfterBuzzers, and welcome to the Magician's After Show. Today we're talking about episode 10, The Girl Who Told Time. And we have a special guest again.
Hello.
Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I'm back in 1996.
It's actually 2000s.
Well, I have a theory about that.
No, but she came out of the 1990s,
Yeah.
so that sound is very 90s. Yes,
But I like it.
it's good.
No, I
You're like, that was a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, we like the pre-auto-tune days, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
What's up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome to the time. I was going to say time. Well, nope.
You got
We're
it.
talking about time because it's the girl who told time.
The girl
but
who
it's
told
the
time.
Magician's After Show. My name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Espionage Cosmetics for these lovely nails, and I'll post pictures of those too. They have like nerdy makeup and nail wraps.
Nice.
Cool.
And I got an awesome guest right here to my left.
I don't have nails
It's okay.
from
Well, you do have nails.
yet.
Espionage. Espionage?
Yeah, Espionage
well,
Cosmetics.
now it's my loss, obviously. Joshua Butler. I directed the episode. Oh, you can find me on Twitter at the Joshua Butler.
And our regular panel.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? My name's Ty Matthews. Y'all can find me on all forms of social media at Ty Matthews PMA.
Hi, I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Adrian Snow. And my theory is that every decade bleeds into the other decade by 5 years. So if you watch a movie from 2005 or music from 2005, it still sounds like the 90s. That's it.
Interesting.
And there's
Yeah.
artists that just genuinely never change their sound,
That too.
and
Yeah.
have no interest in
They have
updating
they're
their,
like, I'm going to sound like this to the day I
That's
die.
it, yeah.
And that's fine, too.
That's fine.
Yeah,
No.
you know.
Thank you. Chantal Crevias, like a fine Canadian singer, by the way.
Nice.
Yes,
I love it.
since we shoot the show in Canada.
Yeah.
It's fitting.
Fitting. Fitting.
And then Joelle is unfortunately sick, but we're happy to have a guest. So yay!
I get to not be on the couch.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah,
join
right?
us at the
As comfortable
table.
as that couch is.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely couch.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
But then you're like, can you hear me?
Sorry,
Can you hear
Joelle.
me?
No, feel better, Joelle.
Yeah.
I will miss you.
Oh, yeah.
So any quick thoughts at the top of this episode?
Oh man,
Commentary.
there's always so much that happens. There's
Yeah,
always,
it's true. A lot
like-
that happened this
I
episode.
know last week we had like 3 simultaneous kind of stories following along, didn't we? Or no? Did we? There's always
I feel we always do
and that's
this
true.
show.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, there's always so much. It's hard to
Yes.
encapsulate your reactions. But I love Josh. I love the character of Josh. I love seeing more.
He's like, thanks.
He's exactly
Right,
I love this Josh.
Yeah. Well,
Also-
trust me, on set it was confusing. Yeah. But
Yeah.
Trevor Einhorn, who plays Josh, fantastic actor, by the way.
I love that he keeps popping up.
Yeah.
He's a sweet
Yes.
guy, and he's so good. Yeah.
It's like a good comedic relief of like, oh yeah, him, and familiarity because it's like a classmate that you're like, you see them every so often. You're
Yeah.
like,
Right.
oh, that guy.
We saw Josh. We saw Todd.
Yes.
And Todd. Yeah.
I think we talked about that a little bit earlier in the season, how it's nice that a lot of the season 1 characters have returned because
Yes.
that's realistic that they would be in college together, that you'd see the same people versus, you watch a show, you see them season 1, and you never see those people ever again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because they're expensive to keep hiring these same actors over and over
Yeah.
again. But
Yeah.
but it's all good.
It pays off in the long run.
It does. No, it's good. Glad you noticed.
It builds the world better for us.
I totally agree.
Right.
So, what did you guys think of the opening when we have Dean Fogg testing Julia at break bills, and you're like, wait a minute.
It
Yes.
explained so much about Julia's tracking or storyline last season. You
Yeah.
understand that's just who she is.
Yes.
So even though I know I was the first person to be like, Julia's getting on my nerves, like, figure it out. But I really appreciate they kind of answered why she was so determined to have magic in her life, because that's just like built into her, regardless of what timeline or loop they're in.
She's a knowledge student.
Exactly.
I like that. That's like a category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's like I feel like I don't know. And as I was watching it, I felt like the knowledge students. Because I don't think we had really heard that much about knowledge students before. But I'm like, oh, like you could kind of compare those. Like they're sort of like the Gryffindor of break bills. Like they're kind of
Or
the most.
Ravenclaw.
Do you think?
Ravenclaw's the intelligence, and Gryffindor is the adventure.
We'll see. I thought Gryffindor because it seemed like they were a little more well-rounded. Like they're kind of sort of like the best of both
I
worlds.
buy
kind
that.
of, you
sure.
know?
Yeah.
A Gryffindor.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Gryffindor.
Exactly.
I was gonna say they're
That's
the
a thing.
AP students.
I could see that. Sure.
Yeah.
Honor kids.
But we have one of the things that I've brought up a lot is this idea of like seeing all these different versions of these characters. We've seen golems, and we've seen like doppelgangers, and we've seen dream versions of characters, and back to the version of Penny that we saw during the musical sequence in the first season.
Yes.
The imagination of Quentin.
Exactly.
Version of Penny. Yeah.
And so it was interesting seeing like this timeline. You could tell like immediately like, oh, we're somewhere else. Obviously, Dean Fogg can see, and Julia is much kind of more, bright and sort of bubbly. Like, I wanted to know like what are some of the challenges of shooting these different kinds of realities?
that was the number one challenge, was were people going to get it, and how subtle can we be, how much do you need to telegraph that this is a different timeline, or is it just going to context clues with Fogg seeing and Julia with her shade and obviously doing well in school as opposed to getting thrown out. So we were just hoping that by the time you saw it, you didn't need like overly hit over your head kind of exposition.
Right.
Which I'm happy to hear we didn't seem to need.
Yeah,
Sure.
she
You kind of got it.
You go, wait a minute.
Yeah, okay, good.
It was cool. It was a moment where you go, wait, what's going on? But then you go, oh, this is an alternate.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Because I was just, as a director, I was just constantly questioning, do I need to do more to telegraph this? But
But I felt
okay.
like even if we didn't see Fogg like without his glasses or anything like that, it looked different, and it looked kind of warmer and happy.
Yeah, and Ellie Smokin, the DP, and we talked about that, and he's unbelievable. And shout out. I guess you saw him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
He did.
that's right.
He was right where you're sitting.
Yeah,
now.
he's fantastic, and I love working with him. But we talk very specifically about, because he's got the very specific looks for the current incarnation of Fillory and the current incarnation of New York City and Break Bills, and they're all different kinds of tones and palettes. So the idea was, you did. Okay, well there you go.
Definitely.
I'm repeating information.
it's great.
Go watch.
It's just great that,
was it episode 8?
Episode 8,
AfterBuzz
there you go.
show, and you'll
After
learn.
this one, obviously.
Yeah, I'll
Just go
shut
back
up
and
about
watch.
it.
Well,
But
no,
yes,
it's
but very much so. Like the look of it, the feel of it, the acting style. Talking to Rick and Stella about how we could differentiate it again without. And Sera and John, the showrunners, fantastic. They're always erring on the side of subtlety, which I think is great.
And she was more Alice-like. That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh, Julia's a lot like Alice.
Interesting.
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
In some of the other loops, because even how she was dressed, I was like, this is different. Because every time we see Julia, she's usually dressed in darker tones. She's usually like in some type of black or gray. So seeing her in like a nice little preppy jacket and jeans, I was like, this is not the Julia that we know.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So
Right.
it's kind of like those little things did work, because if you watch a show, if you are a longtime fan, then you're going to pick up on it.
Good, yeah, excellent.
So it's often a challenge for the actors to play the different versions. What was it like directing the different versions? Because there was a lot in this particular episode.
Oh, there was, yeah.
Befores and afters, alternate timelines, and
Well, the interesting thing is that the alternate timelines, the most intricate incarnation of it, obviously, was Alice. We called her Alice 23 because we just picked a timeline, and Henry Alonzo Myers and Noga Landau, who wrote the script, they were very much like, okay, this is timeline 23, although we don't ever say it.
Right.
That's and working with Olivia and trying to figure out what is the Alice of that timeline, and how when things went so wrong in that timeline, how do you portray that, and where is she in her journey at this one little point when she ends up at the Tesla flexion? So that was tough. Julia, was very much like going back to the pilot, and the person you met, when she was still hopeful about getting into Break Bills. So so there was a little bit more of a context for her, but with Olivia, it was like almost creating a whole new Alice from nothing. So. Which she did a great job doing, but that was the big question of the episode, I thought.
well, it's cool because those characters are still like a version of them, but just like another, like just a degree.
Well, it's like a choose your own adventure book, and that's the way I looked at it. Is you're thinking, okay, there's 40 timelines, and okay, this one she turned to page 34 instead of 48. So
And she lost a handful of fingers.
Yeah, and everything went bad, and everyone died, and she couldn't find Quentin's shade, and it was like, oh man, and she was still dressed in the clothes that she when she was loving Quentin, that was part of his outfit. So it was like we went down that road. We're like, okay, this is she's holding on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Aww. A couple people in the chat were bringing up a pretty good question of, this episode kind of showed us maybe why Dean Fogg likes Julia more, because that episode where she came running from Renard and like Marina, they're like, screw you, you can't come in. But like Julia, he has this moment with her of like, I'm just, we're the same kind of student. So was that part of the directing in it at all, or was that thought
I think that's really good screenwriting because, and again, I'll shout out to Henry and Noga for that, because what we're trying to do in the beginning, of course, is set up the moment where Julia remembers the Tesla flexion. You know, so by reminding the audience of the Julia that used to be, you know, and then have that be the callback. I think that was the reason for it.
Nice. So then we have Julia's still in her prison, but she gets released because Dean's like, this isn't a prison, so go away. And then fun fillery, all the wedding prep, and I love that it was Groomzilla. That was very amazing.
Yes, that's what we call it.
It makes perfect sense
yes.
that Elliot would treat this as kind of momentously as he is.
Yes. And then poor Quentin's pretty much drunk in despair, and it's been 3 months, which was a nice moment because we've talked about how this show sometimes it's maybe not super clear like how long it's been, so that was a nice like, oh, it's been 3 months. Okay, cool.
Right.
And I think, I'm not sure if we had ever nailed down the exact ratio of like
3 months
time
to
in
2
Fillory
days.
versus time
Yes.
in time on Earth. Yeah.
Not exactly.
So that was good to kind of get more of an idea of how much time has passed in each of the realms.
Yes.
So maybe it's been like 2 months total on Earth, and
What it sounds like is like
year?
maybe a month, a day on Earth is a month in Fillory, or around that.
That's about the equation
Yeah.
that we worked with.
Okay,
cool.
okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
Okay,
close
cool.
to it. Yeah.
This is kind of a sad, but I probably kind of true. Renji in the chat says, I guess Q and Alice were destined to be apart. Because there's been multiple timelines where they've been broken up. So it's like, aw.
Yeah.
That can't be all of them, though.
Well, you know, there's many more timelines you don't know about.
This is
so-
Sure, yeah.
You've only seen a very small
Do
sample
we
of
get to
those
see more
timelines.
timelines?
There's not only 39 timelines necessarily.
there's only 40. Yeah, they only did the
They
the
did
loop.
it 39 times. They're on 40.
They're
Right,
on 40.
yeah.
So
right,
yeah, there's
right,
only
right.
a total of
Right.
40 loops.
Right, but so far, yeah.
But did you see the face he made when I asked
I
this?
don't
Do
know
we
if
get to see
there's
other
any more.
timelines? He's like,
I don't know. I actually honestly don't know.
You're like, no, this is my poker face. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's a great device. I mean, and
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see other versions.
I'm sure
too.
that you know, I mean, it would be a great device in the series to, you know, especially season 3, please. They haven't picked it up.
Exactly.
You know, it'd be great if they continue down that road because there's so many possibilities dramatically, I think.
Well, then, pointed out by Dragon Artist says, and they're all dead in all of them. Though technically in all the other timelines they did die by the beast.
right,
So
right.
Right, just
maybe we get to
at
see them
different
before they die.
points, perhaps.
Yeah.
That'd be
And different people survived each time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Then we have, gotta love the moment, and I love with Margot when she's venting her frustration that she needs some alone time.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Of
that
course.
line.
Yeah.
She's like, I need a hot bath and rub one out, and I was like, yes, I'm
Right.
so glad they said that.
And that was in the script. I actually want to make shout out to Hale Appleman, who is one of the great improvisers on the show, and I just happen to love that improvised moment where he says, "You're banished forever." I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
I just that makes me laugh every time on set. And honestly, we had we had more than 40 minutes to I mean, there was like another 2 minutes to that scene where Hale was just going like we had all these people bringing him wedding preparation things, and he was riffing off of all of them.
Yeah.
And it was just
Bonus features later.
hysterical.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
He's
right.
been getting so many good one-liners these last couple
Yeah.
episodes,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah, but that was a Hale improv that just was phenomenal.
Then we have Elliot with Baylor, and they're talking about the polling spell, and his approval ratings are kind of shitty, and versus having a public and private ceremony. What a mundane, but realistic thing to have a conversation about.
Yeah, he's trying to curry favor, absolutely.
Yeah.
Then it was interesting though. We get back to Penny and Katie, and Penny's like, I just want to help, but right away gets pulled into the order because of course the library is the fastest on the thing you don't want.
Right,
So
right,
go
right,
figure.
right.
Right.
Yeah, they've kind of. I like how they're talking about the fact that Penny is he doesn't know when they're gonna call in that.
Yeah.
His first day of work, basically.
So not today.
And then, of course, as soon as they
course
talk
today.
about it, he jinxes it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
then we jump over to when we get to see Josh with the drug bake sale. Yay.
Right.
Now, were those all written in the script that way, of the different ones of what they give you?
They were. Henry, Alonzo Myers, and Noga Glenda. Yeah, no, that was, there was no improv in that scene. That was on the page. And the key was to make sure we got the right pastries, because we wanted it to be upscale. A bake sale, you know.
They're very
It's
kind
like-
of fancy.
They're all
looking.
fancy. Yeah, we didn't want to do the normal pot brownies. You know, you just, you know,
Yeah.
you kind of, because obviously all these drugs were going to go to wonderfully different places. One of them we actually see the effects of. But so that was the fun part of like figuring out, you know, what do we, you know, the tarts and the tartines and all those, you know, fancy schmancy desserts.
Edibles are so high class now anyway.
Yeah, and of course Josh being a
times.
foodie, and
Yeah.
I certainly am one as well in real life. So like it was fun to figure out what the foodie would have done, you know, with his his
Nice.
you know, various drugs.
Sure, and he takes the effects of what they do as seriously as he takes, you know, say the plating or
It's like the wine.
flavor.
It's like a wine pairing.
Right,
You know, it's like,
exactly.
you know, this drug and this pastry go really well
right.
together.
This one will make it feel like
I
rainbows
don't
are
know,
blowing.
for people who aren't in a legal state like we are, you know, the experience of going to a place where they take pride in their drugs
Yes.
and their marijuana is fascinating, because that's not how I think a good amount of the United States really experiences, or for that matter, the world experiences drugs. So to have people talk about, well, this strain of OG Kush is like this is very fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, my Colorado friends are really,
Yeah.
you know, getting very, into that sort of the pot sommeliers or whatever they're calling
Exactly.
themselves. I don't know. There's probably a word for
Is
it. Pot
it an
I'm sure
indica
there
or
is.
sativa? Is it a hybrid?
Yeah, exactly.
I
And
obviously-
everyone's getting very snobby about it.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's the new pot is the new wine.
It
yeah.
is.
There you go.
I was gonna say, this feels like a whole rabbit trail that we could keep talking about.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Let's go. We want to know.
Yeah,
My Obama Kush. It's great. My Obama Kush is great.
But
It
speaking
sounds
of
like
drugs,
a good Kush. I want the Kush he was on. Yeah.
but
Or white
speaking-
Obama kid. Like the guy we were talking about last week.
What?
Renard's son.
We'll get
We were
there.
talking. Joel had made a
Yeah.
comparison that
Yes.
Renard's son was very much a white Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So Obama keeps coming up.
Okay.
Obama's the Taylor Swift of season 2.
Oh. So we get the drugs do
I
take
know.
you somewhere else.
I'm not over it. Sorry. Not over it.
Never.
No. But we get to meet 12-year-old
We
Julia
could have changed
Shade.
the Constitution 3 terms. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
That close.
We've just lost all of our
We had a couple
Trump
of our
supporters.
viewers be
Yeah, I
like,
know.
thumbs down.
Exactly.
I don't know if you're watching this show, you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
we just had a
well-
whole conversation about marijuana.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Yes.
It's all right. Hey, but you know what?
You're in the right
Dragon
place.
Artist, thank you in the chat room to quote the trailers, magic, it's a drug. So, you know.
There you go.
Yes,
Not
very
weird to
good.
reference.
Yes.
And everyone asks me about, who hasn't seen The Magicians. I always say it's sex, drugs, and magic. That's
Yes.
what I call
God,
it.
that's
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
good.
Boom.
It is.
That's what it is. I'm tired of the
the
adult
brevity.
Harry Potter.
No.
It's not really that. No,
Right.
it's sex,
So
drugs,
you
and
want that quote on the
like-
box and be like asterisk and be like, made.
I
I like
will
the
take credit
brevity.
for that. I
Well,
should
the
have
brevity of
trademarked
that,
it. But
yeah.
sex,
Yeah.
drugs, and magic.
Love that.
Hashtag, thank you, Renji. Hashtag weed connoisseur. There you go.
Sure.
So
Sure.
yeah, if
That's
you
a
guys
good one.
haven't noticed, we do have a live chat on this show, so feel free to chime in with us. We love talking to you all. And if you are watching this later, comment down below on your thoughts on the episode and predictions.
Maybe somebody
as
out
we
there
get
knows if there's a pot sommelier name. Like,
Leave that
There's
in the
gotta be a
comments.
solid- There's
gotta be a
must-
name
A
for
solid
this,
like
right?
portmanteau out
Yes.
there.
yeah,
that-
like what are they calling the people in Colorado that give you,
Right.
the
I think they're. I can't think. Well, the
I know.
dispensary.
Okay.
and
Somebody
the
out
market.
there.
We'll talk about it later.
Tell us in the chat.
Yeah.
Gotta be. So, what do you guys think that was a 12-year-old Julia to represent her shade?
I had never thought about a shade being represented kind of so literally, but it's interesting that Quentin kind of had to be in this altered state in order to come face to face with her.
Well, it makes sense for it to be a child in terms of innocence and
Yeah.
purity. So, but I like that it wasn't like a 5-year-old or
Sure.
something like 12. It's like just before that.
It's right before you lose your mind.
Pretty much.
That's-
Yeah,
that's
more or less.
Right
Where
in
you're
the
still kind of
early
like
stages of puberty.
childlike
Yeah.
innocence,
Yes.
but you're about to start venturing into more adult aspects of,
Yes.
of living.
But then Quentin, because he learns about that, he's like, Elliot, no, I gotta bounce. And But poor Fen, she's like, that's my job. When Elliot's like, so here's all these things we gotta do. And she's like, yeah, well, that's my job.
It's so heartbreaking that it keeps going back to that. Like, that's this recurring motif with her. It's like, that's my job. That's what I'm here for. That's my duty. It's like...
I just want to know if she actually likes it.
I don't... I think she likes him.
Yeah.
I think she likes him. But, like, all of this other stuff she feels so resigned to.
Mm-hmm.
It's life in Fillory.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way of the land. You know,
Yeah.
you can do what you know.
I'm not sure. I think she said something about how being surprised that he's not used to a
three husbands, yes.
Yeah, three-person marriage.
Oh, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm referring to.
Not a-
yeah,
not a
yeah.
youth
The idea
spot.
that
For
it's
her,
like,
that's just
if you
kind of-
grow up in a place like that, maybe that's
just the way it
that's the way
goes,
you are.
yeah.
You know, you expect that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a part of her that would prefer that he, were
Be just hers.
sexually attracted to her
Yeah.
the same way
Right.
he's sexually attracted to the king, but yeah.
I think he still gives her some form of affection, so she's not totally...
Oh, he's
But
not...
I still feel bad
He's
for
not
her.
completely, like, disregarding her.
Yeah,
but
no.
I still think there's been this kind of undercurrent of almost patronization where he's like, oh, like, aren't you cute? But not really... I don't think really
But
taking her seriously.
She knows it was an arranged marriage, so...
Sure.
Yeah.
But that doesn't... I think there's still very genuine feelings for
Yeah.
him on her
It's
part.
like when I was 18, I approached a man who ended up being gay, and when I realized he was gay, I went, oh, and he booped me on the nose, like, I'm cute. And I was like, ah, because I'm learning to be like a woman and stuff. So it's kind of like that, like. I appreciate that he wasn't mean to me, but it's still like he booped me on the nose, like
Yeah.
Right.
like I'm like a little cute little cat. Aren't you cute?
Another good hashtag, Renji. Thank you. Hashtag the city of pixels. Websites.
I love that.
Those are
Oh,
cities
yeah.
made out of pixels?
Close.
That was
Yeah.
definitely that's a Henry Alonso Myers classic.
That was so good.
Yeah, and he also wrote the first episode of The Magicians that I directed last season, Homecoming, the Alice Quentin going home to mom and dad
yes,
stuff.
we
So
love that one.
yeah, it was a fun episode, but it's like that's just for me. That's like that was a great like Henry classic. The City of Pixels, and it's just like. But it also just shows, I think, also the difference between growing up in a place like Fillory where the sort of the norms are so different from what we may be used to, and it's just that's.
Sure, and I think for a line that I think some people might see as like, oh, it's just kind of like just a joke. Like, I think there is a part of it that does show that she's trying to learn, and she's trying
Well, that
to
was the
kind
only
of-
way. I mean, that we discussed it on set. I mean, like she couldn't play it as a joke because
Right.
she genuinely had wondrous kind of feelings about this magical thing, this internet,
Right,
that
right.
Earth thing. Yeah.
Can she come to Earth? We've had a lot of Earthlings go to Fillory. Have any Fillorians go
That's a very
to
good
Earth?
question. I don't know the answer to that.
I'm sure there's a way, right?
Because, I mean, like, is it one of those, can you survive?
I'm sure
Lev
students of Lev's books would probably know this
Yeah,
answer.
Sure.
that's a good question.
Sure,
if
sure,
But
you
it's a
guys
very
know.
good question.
Because the
She
air
had
is
the
different,
button, I
right?
guess.
There's a lack of
Well, it's like an opium in the air in
opium in the air in
Fillory.
Fillory.
But, like, would
they,
they
like, go
die,
into withdrawal?
You know? Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's an
That
interesting.
hasn't come
Very
up yet.
Because that would be nice if they could, like, take her there to give her a tour. Well, we did have the son of the... Oh, I'm blanking on his name. The other kingdom?
But he's
Valorian?
from Earth.
Princess?
Oh, yeah.
Princess
So
of
he's
Lorien?
from Earth.
Yeah, he's from Earth.
So we've only had Earthlings.
Or his mom. His mom is from Earth, and he was
Okay.
raised on Earth.
He went to boarding school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess
So
maybe-
can Florians go visit Earth? That's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah,
But he's also not Fillorian.
right.
Right.
Good
Well, yeah, I mean that. Yeah, we haven't seen
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the show
We haven't
yet.
seen Fillorians.
There's
go there
nobody
yet.
who's done it. I don't think in the show.
Maybe for sometime later.
I would love to see an episode of Fenn like
Come to Earth.
exploring
Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah,
Right.
Fenn in New
Yeah.
York. Yeah,
It would be like Enchanted.
That's exactly what I
Yeah.
was
that would
thinking.
be very enchanted-y. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get Katie. How much did you guys love? I love the research tubes when they were doing the like.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank
You mean
you.
This guy, the librarian.
Brendan
Yeah.
Taylor.
That guy was
Fantastic
phenomenal.
actor. Yeah, I was just texting him before the show. He's great.
There's this little moment that he does, and it's barely noticeable, where like they're just both waiting for the answer to come, and he looks at her and he gives her like this little this little motion of like, isn't
Yeah.
this exciting? And it was so funny to
And
me.
I have to tell you, that is the reason why we cast him, because in the audition we used that scene, and everyone else we saw didn't make anything out of that moment, but for me, that was the funniest thing in the scene.
Yeah.
The moment where you're just standing there and you got
You're
nothing.
just waiting, yeah.
You got nothing. And so he did that very gesture in the audition. It's like, you, sir,
That
just
made me so
elevated
happy.
the scene. You
That
know?
that and the Fred Flexion line got
Thank you.
such a hard laugh
That
out
was
of me.
my favorite line in the script. Fred Flexion. I read it and I was like, that is the funniest thing.
It was such a Jungle Cruise joke. Like, it reminded me of like the Schweitzer Falls kind of joke. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. What are you talking about?
So on the Jungle Cruise, you go by a waterfall, and they go, there's the famous Schweitzer Falls, named for the famous archaeologist Dr. Albert Falls.
What's the jungle? What's the jungle cruise?
At Disneyland.
I've never been to Disneyland.
I didn't realize they had a meta joke at Disneyland. Like
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
That's good.
Backside of water.
The backside of water, of course.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, Adrian, we gotta
I've been to
fix
Disneyland.
this.
Jungle
my
I've been
Cruise.
to
goodness.
Disney World and I don't
Jungle
remember
Cruise
it.
is so
Okay.
much fun.
Jungle Cruise is fun.
But Fred Flexion was such a good line. I laughed out loud with that.
Good. That was absolutely the
I
intention.
was gonna say, is there
Yes.
a certain persona that you all are trying to guide with the librarians? Like, because I
good
noticed
question.
that he was very similar to the other librarian.
Yeah, I think the conception of it, because I introduced the library in my first episode, so I was sort of there at the beginning of the Netherlands, and sort of all those discussions were that it would be sort of feel like 1950s America. That's kind of the
what
conceit.
it feels like, even with like the little
Yeah, and in fact, we
bands.
almost couldn't cast Brendan, even though he was the best actor, because he had a beard, and we didn't think that was going to fit into that aesthetic. But he thankfully agreed to shave for the role.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned the audition. Are you there for the audition process for certain episodes?
I'm there for the audition process for all of the guest stars of my episodes.
Oh, okay,
because
that's
obviously
cool.
the cast has been cast.
Yes.
But I get to be involved in everyone who's either appearing in my episode, who hasn't been established in the series so far. So for example, I wasn't involved in casting Josh or Todd.
I see.
But I was involved in casting Howard. So.
Okay.
That's cool.
And The Shade, who is also a lovely Vancouver-based young actor. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
She was great too. Both of them Vancouver locals.
Was there kind of an element of difficulty to it going into it? Like, okay, we have to find a 12-year-old Julia.
There's never an element of difficulty because there's also a simultaneous casting process going on in LA.
Oh, okay.
So there's, there always, when worst comes to worst, they'll find somebody in LA if we
have
can't
a
find.
wide net.
But ideally Vancouver, because it's better for the budget. And
Yeah.
also,
But I mean, like physically,
Yeah.
when you're trying to look for specifically
Trying
a
to look
younger
like her.
version of
Oh
someone
yes!
that's already
We got
cast.
really lucky that we thought the perfect shade for Julia was a Vancouver-based actor. But yeah, no, I mean that was key. I mean we just were really lucky with her. I thought.
Then we have we find out what Penny's first job of business is tracking down overdue books, which is sure, I like that.
Right. It was like his little side quest.
Yeah.
If this was an
Real.
open world game,
Man.
it's his little side quest.
Listen, overdue books can mess up your credit. They can come after you. It's never happened to me, but they can come after you.
Can they mess up your
They
credits?
can mess up your credit. If you have enough overdue books, they can
Interesting.
file
Yeah.
Good
against
to
your
know.
credit.
Well, that leads us to Harriet over at Fuzzbeat, which
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, Henry Alonzo Meyer.
That was funny.
No Orlando.
With we were talking about how to pronounce the name. It's Marlee Matlin.
Marlee Matlin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
How was
amazing.
that directing?
Unbelievable, like a dream come true. Like I was a big fan of her from Children of a Lesser God. I saw when I was growing up.
We were just talking about
I was
that.
like, have you guys seen
I
this
mean,
movie?
yes, it's so,
Yes.
and then
I've
she,
seen her in a ton of
she won the
stuff.
Oscar
It's not
for
bad.
it, and
Yeah.
so I was a bit like, oh my God, somewhat starstruck, but she's just a lovely human being and was just so great to work with, and just the coolest person. I was just it was just difficult, but then and she loved to collaborate and take direction, and it was great. It was like just directing anyone else, even though she has an amazing resume. So
And it's such an interesting dichotomy that I think once I thought about it, I was kind of surprised it hadn't come up before. The fact that in this world where magic is done so much by hand, the kind of the
Yeah.
parallels with signing and kind of how
well, and
they
actually
play
that's a
with
very
each other.
interesting point. That all sort of came out of like Lori, one of our producers, knew Marlee personally and suggested her for the role. and the role was just written as Harriet, and we were casting all different types of actors for the role. I mean, there was no specific one way or the other that we were looking for. Just somebody who would really make Harriet come alive. So and then because she was introduced in this episode, I was involved in that process. So I can say with assurance that when Marley got cast, suddenly Henry did a rewrite over the weekend before we shot with her, and we kind of added and found all those moments and that you just said, and it just sort of, she fits so well into the world,
right?
And then the idea of tutting and signing and the link there, that came out of casting Marley. So
and that very first moment where Penny sees her signing,
yes,
kind of hits the deck and she's not sure what she's doing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that was great too. The idea that I love the chemistry between Arjun and Marley and Jade in those scenes. I just think they're so good together, and it was like a great comedy team, Right. And that, I must say, that great, best improv ever on any TV show I've ever directed was when Marley just at the end of one take decided, after she gives the book back to Penny after spelling the card, she just, for some reason, she just said, "Have a nice day," which wasn't in the script, and without missing a beat, and it's too bad it's censored, but without missing a beat, can I say the F word?
Yeah, sure.
Without missing a beat, Archie says, so it's "Have a nice day," and he goes, "Fuck off," and it was just, I was just dying at the monitor. It was so funny.
That exchange got such a big laugh at me when I was more so than I think I was.
But again, just improv from both of them. Just like, whoa, what just happened there? That was genius.
Right.
So
that scene also was pointing out how much he's still being so rude all the time.
Yes, exactly.
And you're like, dude, do you not learn that that doesn't work? Even Katie was like, it was nice to see her so smiley and happy and
bonding,
seeing her thing, and he's just being a total douchebag.
Right. Yeah, so she banishes him.
Right.
It's go away.
Well, it's like you said, did you not learn your lesson? This has gotten you in trouble before.
You have to chop off your hands.
But he does but Penny does apparently have a soft spot for pandas, which is
what did you do to the pandas was such a good line.
Exactly. Another Henry classic. Yes.
Oh yeah, that was so good. And that scene was just so entertaining to learn also about how the librarians are hiding material, which I wonder that too. As soon as the male librarian was like, yeah, we don't have that information. I'm like, oh, dude, he's lying.
Right, absolutely.
I always thought the librarians were sketch from the moment they were introduced. I was like, something is wrong with these people. They're hiding things. They have your entire life history written down. They know all your different names.
But that's open to the public.
Sketch.
Oh, sure.
Those books aren't hidden, so you could come read your own book. She didn't stop them from getting their own book.
It's true.
Right.
So.
Right.
But she recommended the don't read to the end because people don't like the ending.
Right.
Yeah.
That was me. I was there.
That was a good one too.
Good times, good memories. Yes.
Then we have Quentin and Julia, how she's kind of on autopilot when he comes over to her place, and she's talking about I'm sorry, and the research, and then that's when we get Todd and got the Tesla flexion, which is great. Elliot and the cooking testing was so funny. Here, let's eat this different stuff. But it just wasn't working, and
because he wants it to be uniquely Felorian. He wants it to he wants to meet him halfway, which I think, as much as Fenn is trying to learn, I think it's interesting, and it's telling of kind of Elliot's arc that he's also trying to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we figured that the Florians would just not get Michelin 3-star cuisine.
Exactly.
It was just too foo-foo for them. And being a foodie, it's just funny the whole we did the sort of knockoff version of Thomas Keller, who's the French Laundry chef, his famous dish oysters and pearls. So I mean, for the foodies out there, there was a lot of sort of inside foodie jokes that we were trying to, and even I think even name checks Keller, but it's Phil would be like, just give us a good buffet.
The fact that Josh had to get him wrecked to get that recipe.
Right. Yeah. Hardee's is good. Yeah.
But then we get the warning in the nachos, and Margot, her good idea of the tracking spell and redo it, and then Josh is gonna go invade the Foo Fighters, which seemed to work out really well. But then I was like, that seemed too easy.
Right.
Anybody else?
It seemed no. I think I get what you're saying.
Well,
if we had twice the budget, I think the scene that might be missing there is the one where you go see that all play out.
Sure.
That
I think
Sure.
it's that's unfortunately in TV sometimes you don't have the money. If you're doing all the other stuff you're doing, you got to pick your battles.
Right.
And
Exactly.
you know, so obviously, I think all of us would have liked to have seen that.
Well, I think more than anything, it made me suspicious. It made me a little suspicious of Josh and kind of his intentions.
It was weird.
Like,
He's already betrayed them once, so it's kind
Right?
of like,
it's true.
Yes.
It's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
The last little bit with the crazy librarian too, of like the losing control and essentially killing himself to protect the poison room. That was intense.
Trying to hit that kill switch, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And killed himself. Mm-hmm. No, sorry, I'd be like, no, I'm not killing myself. to
He
save
is
the library.
passionate. Librarians are passionate, if nothing else.
This is true.
We found that.
Science, okay?
Right.
I tried to become a librarian until I realized I had to go back to school for library science.
Did you?
I was
Oh,
like,
what?
I'm not going to do that.
Well,
You're like, no.
I don't even understand what library science is. You know,
Yeah.
is it a deep
like-
study of the Dewey Decimal
Well,
System?
you
Right,
do have
right.
to like figure out the Dewey Decimal and some other stuff. But like,
Interesting.
I'm not doing that.
But I will point out that,
Yes.
that the model for that scene was actually in the last episode I directed the abortion attempt. You know, where the
Yes.
Oh yeah.
where the demon baby was basically you know fighting against having it be removed from Julia. So we went with that idea that there's something in the poison room that that is kind of drawing Howard there to you know potentially off him you know in the same kind of way that there's a presence. So I don't blame I mean I like Howard that he fights back you know but
Yes.
but the idea is that he wasn't necessarily of his own will protecting the poison
Yeah.
room.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
oh, interesting.
That
Okay,
was
yeah,
on
yeah,
what,
yeah.
protecting the poison room. So wait.
Well, when Kari said that, you know, like that he was trying to, you know, stop.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But the reason he gets into that trance and goes there to begin with, the idea is that there's something going on.
Well, I thought Harriet cursed him and made him want to go open it for
Yeah.
Katie.
Right, with the card.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes,
right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah, and then he kind of snaps to it and goes, wait, I can't do this, and tries to stop it, and would rather kill himself than open that room.
That's how I was reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it works both ways.
Interesting.
But the idea would be to also, I put in the mix that the poison room itself
Was
It's
kind of pushing
protecting
him
itself?
would
to...
protect itself.
Ah.
I see.
Okay.
On top of
Interesting.
Harriet's spell with the
Yeah.
card, and on
Which
top
explains
of,
why
you know,
he would hit the kill switch over anything
Yes.
else.
Okay.
I don't.
Right,
I-
because
I-
the magic,
yeah.
you know, that you know, and it certainly was triggered by the spell that Harriet cast. You know,
Okay.
but you know,
That makes more sense when you
Yeah.
said it that way. Then we have the when we get the little bit of Alice, the other Alice, and I was just like, they are wasting their time. Keep getting to the get to the point. I know you love each other.
I
it's-
love that scene. I'm not
Yeah.
a crier, but I almost
Oh,
cried.
that 100% got me, for sure.
We're
Yeah.
gonna lose her all over again, but it is one of those like, I have 2 minutes. I
Right.
need you to tell me
Yes.
information now.
Right.
See, the chemistry between Jason and Olivia is so great, and especially in that scene when you see like he is the version that lost her and she's
Yeah.
the version that lost him, and so they get to see each other that one moment, and it's just really beautiful for them to share in that pain, because like nobody else is going to really understand the pain they're going through specifically for each other. So.
And that shot at the very end of that exchange
Oh, the
with all the
shadow?
sparks, and then you just
Yeah.
see two shadows become one. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
yeah, that was
Gorgeous shot.
The first thing I thought of when I read the script, I was like, we got to do that shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what you're saying is so true. It's, I mean, that is the balancing act. You know, as when you direct a show or anything, when you direct anything, it's like, you know, how do you balance in that scene the tension of the fact that they have a 2-minute time limit, you know, with the tutting going on outside, you know, can Julia and Fogg keep it up, you know, while there's this incredibly emotional scene that you want to stay in
Yeah.
with Jason and Olivia, who are doing
Yeah.
amazing work. So it's like, you know, balancing that is really a big question.
I thought it was excellently done, because
Oh,
I
gorgeous.
watched the TV show
Thank you.
today where I was like, oh my god, get to the point.
Right.
Like, I know what's about to happen. Just rip off that necklace so I can get to it already.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. But like, yeah. So it was really the balance of just them getting the facts out and having that emotional moment was perfect.
Good.
And it was great too because she got to apologize to him, so he got the apology while he was always trying to apologize to her.
Right.
So that was
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the suggestion, I mean, I don't know if people, it might have been too subtle for the room, but I was hoping that the idea was that she almost just like destroyed them because
Yeah,
they get
she's
so
about to
close.
touch,
She's
yeah.
about to
Yes.
touch. And so that was part of what I think where they for just a split second forget that they
Yeah.
could just destroy both of them.
There was a moment of suspense
like,
where yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure if they were going
Yes.
to.
Good. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that was the other thing we were balancing. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to balance.
Yep.
But yeah.
All right, and the last major things are the fairies took Fen. Looks like they took her, but
Ooh.
might be more to it.
Those fairies are
and
terrifying.
ancient ones are dragons.
Giant. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Blowing up the world. I love when
Yes.
shows blow out the world.
Smog
You just-
style.
You get a better understanding of what people are dealing with.
Any quick predictions? Because we have to wrap.
Oh, yes.
Oh man. These.
I can't say anything. You go.
I know you can't.
She watched ahead for those of you who don't know.
These dragons are bad news, I think.
I'm so excited. Seeing the preview for next time.
Ugh.
Are you excited when you see like the trailers?
Oh yeah, I'm such a
Okay.
fanboy of the show, so I'm excited. Yeah, and because I left before they shot that, I'm curious. I'm
okay.
curious to see what the dragon actually looks like. There's a nice glimpse of it in the promo though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm told it's awesome. So
Well, it just keeps getting better and better. Anything else you're working on that you can let us know about or coming up?
yeah, well, working on a film that I'm writing and directing right now. Hopefully get that more information on that in a couple months. But
Sweet.
yeah, I just directed the Shadowhunters winter finale. If anybody's watching Shadowhunters,
There you go.
so I was here a couple weeks ago for that. But
Nice.
yeah, just
Great.
moving forward.
Hell yeah.
Hoping for a season 3 of The Magicians.
Yeah.
Right? Get that. Hashtag trending.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah,
Let's go
thank
down
you.
the line and give our call out.
All right. I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow.
Y'all can find me on all forms of social media at Ty Matthews PMA, as well as Monday nights on the Monday Night Raw after show. The crew will be at WrestleMania this weekend, so come see us.
Nice.
Nice. I'm Joshua Butler. You can find me at the Joshua Butler on pretty much most platforms except Snapchat, which I don't get.
That's all right. I don't really get either. Facebook and Instagram are trying to do the same thing, which I don't understand either.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know.
don't
Yes.
appreciate it.
Sorry. I don't
And
get it.
my name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D Lane, and check out my Instagram and my Twitter because I'll post better photos of the Espionage Cosmetics nail wraps. They're really fun, and these are very glittery. And these are For Science is the name of them. So go check it out. I'll
Nice.
explain why. Again, thank you so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, 5 stars on iTunes, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
What are you laughing at?
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.